Hey everybody, welcome to the 6-round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We're coming to y'all just from the close of UFC 291 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Latest UFC pay-per-view, and another great night, honestly. It's been 2 pay-per-views in a row now. We got this one coming on the heels of UFC 290, where we have just had excellent pay-per-view cards from the UFC.
No, we're getting spoiled for all the shit we talk about, the bullshit cards they put out, which end up being okay most of the time. This, as advertised, was stacked going in, and from top to bottom, it absolutely delivered.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many beautiful finishes, a couple things I did not care for, but we'll get to that. But I mean, early excitement, late excitement. The main event delivered. Man, what a fantastic card.
Yeah, we got what, 2 decisions the whole night through. So, and even if one of those was actually just a really bad fight, but even if Pereira, Blachowicz wasn't all that thrilling, it still was a very important fight. So, like, the whole way through watching it, not the prettiest fight in the world, but I'm still tense the whole way, feeling that pressure, feeling the moment. So yeah, no, all things considered, just, how can I walk away from complaints after a night like that? After seeing Justin Gaethje get it back on Dustin Poirier the way he did, I mean, man, like, Dustin Poirier, like, I know he's been knocked out in the past, but it's been a while. His last time getting knocked out was in 2016, and he has looked great. He has looked so defensively tight these past few years. He's looked so on point. I really did not think that Justin Gaethje was going to knock him out. I know Gaethje's got the power to do it, but
not like that. Not with a head kick.
Yeah. I mean,
was bananas.
It was awesome. Showed off the danger, though, of active hand, defensive hand parrying and all that, because that was, Poirier was swiping that hand down, that right hand down, saw it coming in, and the kick coming right behind it, even getting his hand back in position, it was just that split second from here back to here was too much.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's what my Muay Thai coach Harvey Grassi, he calls it touch and go. You just you're not throwing your hand out there to land a strike. If it lands, cool, but that's not the point. The point is to disguise the kick. And they're so focused on blocking what's going towards their face straight on that they don't see the kick wrapping around. And damn, Gaethje hit it perfectly, just like Leon Edwards did in the same building against Usman.
Must be the magic of the Mormons, It's the
maybe there's something to that polygamy.
It's the Thetans. The Thetans wrapped the shin around the back of the head out there. Dustin Poirier's out there getting his own planet right now. However that works.
Well, he definitely got sent there. That was a nasty head kick.
Definitely did some astral traveling.
Wow. So, I mean, the fight itself was beautiful up until that point.
Yeah.
It was just as great as the first fight, but I mean, very different. Like, this was much more technical brawling. The first fight was just car crashes. This fight looked like elite, top shelf, world-class fighters going at it. And they've honed this crazy striking brawling style to the point where, especially for Gaethje, that's the biggest improvement he's made thus far is not being so reckless and actually commanding the cage. Like, and that's a huge thing in MMA. And as MMA gets bigger and more people start from a younger and younger age, It's kind of, you have to learn more and more fundamentals when you start, and being able to command the cage is one of those. And Gaethje commanding a cage and not just putting himself in harm's way. Ooh, that's a championship caliber fighter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing that his coach. What is it? Team Elevation. It's
Who, Whitman?
yeah,
Trevor
Whitman. It's a big thing Whitman's been bringing to Gaethje for a while now, where they've really tried to get him off of the pressure brawling, which marked so much of his early career, where he would just go forward being a wild man. And all of what we've seen out of Gaethje in recent fights has been a guy who he might strike first, like he did tonight. He actually led most of the striking exchanges with Poirier, but he always let Poirier make the first move into range. And that kind of, the downside of that is like that moment where Poirier stung Gaethje with a really hard cross, where it's like, okay, if you're going to let Poirier make the first move all the time, then sometimes Poirier is just he's going to catch you cold. He's going to have the chance to set some things up. But the other side of that is that with Gaethje out there not overthrowing, with him not following his combinations through to the point that Poirier could counter him, he's being able to, let Poirier bring himself into the danger zone rather than running himself onto strikes and letting his own momentum carry himself onto strikes. Because the first fight was really marked by Gaethje pressuring a lot, Poirier circling out, and Poirier countering as Gaethje came forward. And something Poirier is really good at. So resetting the tone for this. I mean, I kind of thought like Gaethje does this. I don't know. I think Poirier is just too clean. He's too technical to let him lead like that. He's going to be able to crack Gaethje the way he did and hurt him the way he did. But Gaethje was really smart about making sure that the moment Poirier entered into that middle distance, Gaethje met him with strikes every time. So he was firing first. And by the time Poirier stepped back to reset, Gaethje stopped. He didn't chase him at all. So there was nothing there for Poirier to pick up on. And I think, what we saw with the finishes, Poirier having to get a little chancier, get a little more aggressive and a little more wild himself. And, he overcorrected on that strike that Gaethje threw, swatted it down, looking to move in. And the kick was just right there, right behind it.
Oh, it was gorgeous. Absolutely
it really
gorgeous.
Was.
And Gaethje, he had a mindset shift, really. I remember when he was in the World Series of Fighting right before he left, he was talking about, I only have X amount of fights with this style. I know it's crazy. So I'm going to try to get in there and get as much money as I can in these set amount of fights. Well, he did that, right? And then he gets to the UFC and he does that, puts on these exciting fights. But he realized, holy shit, I could make a legit run and possibly be a world champion. And he starts cleaning up his act and dialing it in. And this is a culmination of that. This is his smartest performance to date.
Too, he got his eyes fixed. Like that, you can also mark like the difference in Gaethje as a pressure fighter to Gaethje as a more patient back foot fighter. A lot of that kind of started right when he got his vision fixed, and suddenly he can see what what the distance is. He doesn't have to close it himself to depend on being, okay, I can see the person clearly right here, so I got to be right here. And now he got his nose fixed too, so he's actually been like going through the personal upgrades too, as well as the fighting style. So
total. He's getting buffed.
Yeah, getting that $6 million man.
You have to, honestly. How much does LeBron James spend on his body annually?
I don't know.
It's well over $1 million. Oh,
of course.
Just on his body, just on his body.
Well, I mean, you're talking about something that's going to make you hundreds of millions of dollars each year. You got to protect it. And for for MMA, sure, that's maybe $5,000 a year comparatively, but
But little things like this,
Yeah.
or even guys who have scar tissue removed.
Yeah.
Like these are little things that kind of don't seem like big deals, but it can matter a lot. It
Sure.
really can.
So now, of course, we've already got our title fight set. We've got Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira 2 out there in front of us. And but it's hard to deny that Gaethje's probably got the next spot in line after that.
Oh, he has to.
Yeah.
You can't kicking Dustin Poirier in the head is the coolest thing going on in the division, period.
Yeah.
Hands down. There's nothing cooler going on than that.
It's true.
Period. And that's exactly why McGregor's out there talking his shit on Twitter, calling for a fight with Justin Gaethje, who is a G and will not even acknowledge that more than likely.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse bag. It's weird. It's really weird. But he doesn't even want the Chandler fight now. He says, forget Michael Chandler. I want Justin Gaethje. If I were Gaethje, I'd take it.
Well, I mean, it's, you got to depend too on whether or not you can, by taking that fight, can you actually score any extra pay-per-view percentage out of that?
Yeah, I mean, financially, you have to. It's
Yeah.
Conor McGregor.
But if the UFC is not willing to give you an extra piece of that pie, then you gotta you go after the title first.
Yeah, absolutely. But if McGregor wants it, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's true. Chandler getting left out there in the cold.
It's the fight business.
It is. It's the fight business. You do what you got to do in this.
You do what you're told. You do what you're told. Nah, but Justin, he's the people's champion, BMF champion.
Yeah.
Say what you want about it. It's a gimmick title, but
Sure.
it feels way more appropriate than the first BMF fight.
I mean, if the UFC would be sold on these gimmicks, I'm all for it. I love gimmicks. I got no problem with gimmicks. It's just that the UFC's always kind of feels like they have like one foot out the door on these things, and the first time they did it, it really just kind of felt like, okay, we threw a belt in between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, and like they're both dudes who deserve that kind of recognition for their careers.
Mm-hmm.
But it never came up again. Like Masvidal just kind of stuck it in the closet and it just lived there. It wasn't ever a thing again. If you're just going to do that, then it's never going to feel that fun. It's always just going to feel like a stupid thing that you're just throwing in the middle of some fight that you want people to think of as bigger.
Sure. And I mean, I'm sure it was a one-off when it was created.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, maybe this could actually be like an annual thing. And then now it's it's the intercontinental title. Yeah.
And the thing that should be, even honestly, you really want to do it upright, is whoever you you put the belt on Justin Gaethje, the BMF belt on Justin Gaethje. Any fight he win or lose, doesn't show up like a complete badass, you strip him and you make a new BMF title fight. Like,
okay,
if you really want to do it right, the accolade,
This
is. It's Justin Gaethje. He's never going to go out there and wrestle somebody, so you don't really have to worry. He doesn't have to worry about that. But
yeah. By the way, you can absolutely wrestle someone and still be a bad motherfucker.
Okay, sure.
Let's get that out there. But no, I like what you're saying though. Like, as long as you can maintain your status of BMF, you can keep the belt. But the second that's gone, whether you retire or you put up a stinker or a dud,
you have a staring contest for 15 minutes. We're taking that belt home.
Yeah,
give to somebody else.
Any division,
Yeah,
and the fans have to vote.
Well, no fan voting. Every time the fans vote, we end up with some stupid shit.
Yeah, you get like Patty Pimblett in there or something.
Yeah, you get your like the crypto thing where they open the voting at the start of each card, and by the end of it, like some dude who lost like the worst fight of the night gets the big bonus because all that. But I'm just saying, there's a lot you could do with this. And
ooh, never mind. The fighters vote. You have the fighters vote. Nah, you have the fighters vote. There's no one that's going to be. There's no one would say Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje weren't deserving of that.
no,
Nobody.
I think you got to have like a secret panel. You got to have a secret panel that votes.
Nah, it's one of those.
It could be some fighters. It could be some fans. It could be some.
It has to be a general consistent.
Which is why I don't think anybody should vote on it. You should have one smart person who has their ear to the ground and they just say, no, it's this.
No one man should have that much power, Zane.
Come on. It could be me. I'm not saying it should be me. I'm just saying it could be.
All right. It would have to be both of us.
Okay.
We could be the yin and the yang to the
exactly.
BMF title.
We can be the secret BMF.
Because obviously we are the end all be all of what's BMF and what is it.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody has the ear of UFC matchmakers better than we do.
True. Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think we're that bad. we could easily be matchmakers.
I don't want no. I've heard from Julie Kenzie. That's like it's a nightmare of like flowcharts and organizing. I don't want to do that.
No,
you could do that. You could. That can be your job. I'll be the figurehead.
But it's not that for BMF. It's not that many. Like there's not that many people. Like these people have to come to mind. So, yeah.
Let's move on here. We got a light heavyweight fight to talk about. Alex Pereira, Jan Blachowicz, and
should have been a title fight.
Should have been a title fight.
I needed 5 rounds of that.
Yeah, well, I'm not in Salt Lake City. I didn't. These boys were tired by the end of that fight. I didn't need 2 more rounds.
Jan was tired by the end of that fight.
Pereira was tired too. It's just that his striking form is so much more innate and practiced as a top level kickboxer that his game doesn't fall off as bad as Jan, who he's a bit more of an MMA native. You know, he doesn't have that smooth connectivity and fluidity to his striking quite so built in. But he did look really tired.
That wrestling at elevation really zapped him. That was clear. And he was trying to finish in that first round. So credit to him. He had the dominant position. He was on the back, several rear naked choke attempts. Just keeping that position is tough in and of itself, especially for that long with a body triangle.
Yeah, you could tell too when he was falling off the side because he couldn't get his left arm free. You could see just how much energy it took for him to constantly try and shift back up and stay on the back. And it just, I mean, that had to be sapping.
Yeah, it's very gassing, especially you're not a back take guy. Like that's not your thing. So how conditioned are you to maintain back control for that long? You know?
Yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, that should have been for a title. That's kind of
I mean, it seemed like they even leaked. There was that whole thing about like the UFC telling their bar partners and their pay-per-view host partners that like, oh, there's 2 title fights on this card, the BMF and the light heavyweight title. And then they were, told everyone immediately after the moment that hit the news, like, oh, no, typo. And even when they were denying it, I'm still thinking, just waiting that extra 2 days until Dana White comes out and says, guess what, everybody? We got another title fight on this pay-per-view. And, because they always like to set everything up themselves.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. And that said, I do think the next move is pretty obvious here, which is that Alex Pereira, he walked out with the win. It wasn't the prettiest win in the world, but he almost certainly will fight again in probably 4 months' time against Yuri Prochazka for the light heavyweight title.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic also.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, I picked Jan going into this.
So did I.
Mostly because I expected him to be able to out-wrestle Pereira.
And he did.
And not get completely just starched on the feet.
And he didn't.
Minutes before the fight, I tweeted out that I fucked up. And that I realized that Alex Pereira is 205. Like, he is
Yeah.
light heavyweight.
He is. He is a light heavyweight kind of fighter through and through.
So with that, I was like, okay, and he's training with Glover, like intimately training with Glover nonstop all the time. I picked Pereira I switched my pick to Pereira by decision. So or Pereira by submission. So when I saw him
by submission,
yeah. So when I saw him lock up that standing guillotine in the first, I
oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
oh no way.
You would have been. I would have respected that every bit as much as I will now denigrate it. You foolish fool. Pereira by submission?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, he's getting good in his grappling, man.
He's getting better at it. He's getting better at it.
He's getting better than people would think. Like, he's not just a kickboxer. For him,
he still got stuck. But
sure, but that anti-grappling, him surviving those rear naked choke attempts, not getting pounded out, like staying competitive, knowing what to do in those positions, knowing to look to his corner for advice when he doesn't know what to do, which he did often, and doing everything right. I mean, everything textbook to not get submitted. That's some fantastic anti-grappling.
It's a credit to him, no question.
He's going to get a submission one of these days, I'm telling you.
Maybe I could see it against like Yuri Prochazka, just because Prochazka is so wild and will like throw himself into any wild position.
Yeah, it's going to be a standing guillotine, standing rear naked choke, something to that effect for sure.
But I'm never going to pick that in my entire life. I'm never going to pick Alex Pereira by submission.
Hey, that was a nice standing guillotine.
It was for a second. It was nice for a second. Never going to pick it. But yeah, I think we'll see that Prochazka fight next. My guess is sometime early next year, because Prochazka, they talked about like, oh, I won't be ready by August, which was what he was originally thinking they wanted to do. But it was like, oh, I'll sign, Okay. True.
Jan is still breathing heavy in the hotel room.
I got tired watching him get tired out there. That altitude is no joke. I used to live in Colorado. That shit will wear you out so in such a weird way that you don't think, because it's not like you get out there and you're like, oh, the air feels so thin up here. You're like, okay, everybody's living and running around. People are living their lives. This is fine. And then you go do something, and like halfway through it, you're just like, oh my God, this sucks. And it just doesn't get, and if you're not acclimated well, it just doesn't get better. You can't catch your breath back up. Like, there's no, I'm going to get a second one. This is like what Cain Velasquez found out when he was fighting in Mexico City, and he didn't do any prep, and he just went there and was like, oh, I'm going to be Cardio Cain in Mexico City. And it's like, no, you're not. No. You're really not.
Yeah, there's a reason people use oxygen when they climb mountains. But I will say, if there was ever a time to stop cutting all that fucking weight and move up a division, it was at 4,000 feet of elevation.
It's true.
Pereira, genius move here. Genius move. Oh, we're fighting in Salt Lake City. Yeah, I'm not cutting weight here.
He still came in at like 230 pounds or something.
He looked great, though.
Yeah, he did.
He looked healthy.
All right. So let's jump over. I lost my train of thought, whatever it was. Wasn't important. Derrick Lewis, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. This was my sadness hedge of the night.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I came in, I'm like, you know what? I think Marcos Rogerio de Lima is just going to leg kick Derrick Lewis, and it's going to suck. And Derrick Lewis is going to get TKO'd, and that's it. And it'll be not fun. It won't be bad for Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He deserves his spot. He deserves his moment, but it won't be fun. It won't be as fun as a Derrick Lewis win is fun. So I was really ready to be sad for this. and Derrick Lewis blew the goddamn doors off the place. I don't doubt for a moment that he didn't know what he was gonna do. Marco Sergio de Lima sure as hell didn't know what he was gonna do. And I mean, it's funny because I've seen so many fights in the past where Derrick Lewis says he started a lot of his fights with like a jumping switch kick or a jump knee or something wild where, you know, he's got that explosive ability to throw something out there. And you're just like, oh, holy shit, did Derrick Lewis just throw a flying switch kick at somebody? And it's been there in the past, but it's never worked like that. And you can bet like that was such a deer in the headlights moment for Marco Sergio de Lima. Like you see Derrick Lewis take that double step where you're like, this man is running at me.
Yeah.
And you got to get out of the way. He had you know.
It's worse too because this is fight speed. And this is the start of the fight. You don't you haven't had a single moment to adjust to it or anything. It's just go. And you got a freight train just coming right at you. Oh man, bless his heart.
Marco Sergio de Lima feels like every deer that has been hit by a semi truck ever right now. If the deer were still alive, I mean,
man,
it's
beautiful. And he looked great. Like physically, he looked in shape.
Yeah,
Derrick Lewis looked in shape. He looked like he's been training.
Yeah, he did.
That's great to see.
Stuck to a diet, at least for a day, he reported.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I mean, the man has freak power in that heavyweight division. And in heavyweight, power reigns supreme. You got to have the power. You got to have the durability. Lewis has always been a little shaky on the durability back and forth, but the power has always been there. And then he got that awesome post-fight speech, taking his damn pants off in the ring.
Doing the DX suck it.
Yeah. Going absolutely hog wild out there.
No. So I think we need a moderator. Someone needs to get booted for asking for a Ngannou Derrick Lewis rematch in the PFL.
I mean, you know what? He at that post-fight speech, he's talking like, I want to re-sign with the UFC, but if that doesn't happen, who knows? And I was thinking, oh, he wants to sign with the UFC. That's what he's gonna do. And then somebody reminded me that like there's a $2 million guarantee to step into the ring with Francis Ngannou. You fight Francis Ngannou in PFL, you are guaranteed $2 million. Is there one fight right now in the UFC that would guarantee Derrick Lewis $2 million?
There's not two fights in the UFC that would guarantee him $2 million. Not even three, probably not four. That's actually damn it. I don't want that to make sense. I don't want that fight. Don't want to see it.
Let me see if I can find the last time Lewis had a publicly disclosed payday.
I'm sure it's a good amount, maybe 500,000.
Let's see.
Or like a 250 situation. It's got to be something good. Like he's exciting.
Yeah, he's definitely not making nothing. But he mostly fought only in Vegas and Texas. So let's see. He fought in Kansas in 2019 against Junior Dos Santos. Kansas not declaring. I'm a little surprised by that. Kansas is always on the cutting edge of letting everything out the door.
I would absolutely respect his hustle if he went and did that.
Yeah, I mean, because too, you got to look around at PFL and say,
"Fuck, man,
who does PFL have around that they should pay $2 million?" Like somebody suggested Anti-Delia as like a potential fight for Ngannou. It was Randy Couture who suggested that, and it's like, no, nobody cares about watching Francis Ngannou fight Anti-Delia. Like that's,
no one knows who that is. People know who Derrick Lewis, and I hate that this makes sense. Oh my gosh, so much time has gone by that everyone has forgotten how bad that was.
I know. It was a terrible fight, but it's also it's just like it's probably the biggest MMA fight available out there. So, question is,
if I were Lewis, I'd go take that fight, get my payday, then go back to the UFC.
Oh, somebody's looked up a Derrick Lewis Volkov. Apparently, that payday was publicly disclosed. Yeah, okay. So that's 2018, though. But that's 135. He's probably making closer to 200,000 a fight now, I would assume.
Okay, so I wasn't
just because they
250 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I expect him to be in that sort of Andrei Arlovsky zone where Arlovsky's just been hanging around forever. He hasn't even been winning all the time, but that they just keep incrementally, slowly stepping him up to the point where he's making like $400,000 a fight, But the only question then is, and this is actually the big wrench in that, is that the UFC, they haven't been exercising it often anymore, because after the whole lawsuit, it just kind of put a crimp in the UFC's style when it came to controlling fighters with extra contract crap. But I'm pretty sure they do have a year-long matching period.
I thought it was shorter than that.
No, they have a 90-day exclusive negotiation period, and then I believe they have a year-long right to match. So if they don't want to waive that right, and they've been waiving it a lot lately, but this Ngannou thing, that's a real spite situation for the UFC,
There's still ways around that.
Yeah, like what?
PFL's launching PFL Middle East. They could go do it in the Middle East. What the fuck is the UFC going to do about it? I got my $2 million. Fuck you.
They would sue Derrick Lewis.
You can't sue Derrick Lewis. How are you going to sue Derrick Lewis? In what court?
The Nevada court.
They don't have jurisdiction on something that happens over in the UAE. I don't think so. They would
have contract rights.
It doesn't work like that, dude.
It does. No fighters have done this and can do this. The only fighters that do that are fighters that then never live in the US again, where you'll see a guy go like, oh yeah, the UFC suspended me, I'm going to go fight in Russia because I live in Russia. Derrick Lewis is going to bring his assets back to the US. The UFC can go sue him in the US. I would not. If I'm Derrick Lewis, I mean, I think somebody should. If Jake, we got somebody in the chat asking, is Jake Paul the best MMA advocate out there? If Jake Paul really wants to prove he's the best MMA advocate out there, he will fund a potential Derrick Lewis lawsuit against the UFC. That would be real high-level MMA advocacy.
Yeah, I also think that Dana White would let Derrick Lewis go because he's cool. Not Dana. Dana might be cool too, but I think they're cool with each other.
They might. I think there's just a lot of spite with Ngannou here.
I think the backlash might be sizable for Derrick Lewis. He took his pants off and said his balls were hot again.
Yeah,
he's huge again. He is huge. Doing that jump knee, Derrick Lewis is as big as Derrick Lewis has ever been.
It's true. It's true.
He man, what a last fight on his contract, and he comes out and does this shit.
It also has to be said too, there isn't actually really a next fight in the UFC for Derrick Lewis. Like, the only guy at the top of that division he hasn't already fought is Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And like, that's a fun fight.
And John Jones.
He's not fighting John Jones. He's not. I mean, no, he's not getting
Tom Aspinall.
He hasn't fought Tom, but he's not getting anywhere near a title shot off this alone from the UFC, unless that's his stipulation to stick around. That would be if you're Derrick Lewis, that's maybe the kind of smart deal you make. Is my next fight has to be a title fight or a top contenders fight.
Nah, smart man. The smart play is going to the PFL.
It is. It is going
Damn
to the
it,
PFL.
man. Oh yeah, the run slide. We didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. No, that was. You know what that was too? That is one of the rare times in MMA that you will see a referee put themselves on the fighter that is hurt to check on them rather than the fighter that is doing the hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Because MMA is in such a way, and the ability to follow somebody to the ground and hurt them and continue to hurt them once they're already down really puts the emphasis on referees to have to go and stop the attacking fighter from attacking rather than to check on the downed fighter to make sure that they're okay, which is one of the reasons we talked about it a lot. Like in Muay Thai, you see the refs like go out and try to jump and catch people. Yeah. You don't ever see that in the UFC.
Well, and there's two reasons. There's multiple reasons for that. One major reason is you're not going to the ground in Muay Thai. There's no ground strikes and grappling. Yeah. So like they don't have to worry about, ground and pound coming flying in at them. They can take the dive and try to protect the fighter from their head bouncing off the canvas.
But it was a cool slide from Herb Dean. You're not going to see it a lot in MMA because like I said, there are several stylistic rules where every time I think like, man, why isn't the referee going to the fighter getting hit and like putting themselves there and checking on the fighter getting hit rather than just letting them fall while they go and like stop the other guy?
Especially when guys go unconscious from submissions and then they get dropped and the ref will just like let them fall and bounce their heads. And
and like I'm always thinking like, why aren't you like protecting the fighter getting hurt? And then I see that happen in a fight, and you see the other guy just punching around the ref because the ref isn't. It's like, okay, that's why.
Like Herb Dean, he looked like he tried to. It looked like he turned off the lights and tried to get in bed before it got dark in there. That's the kind of slide he hit, man.
Yeah, no,
he's no spring chicken. Like that's some athleticism right there.
Yeah,
performance bonus.
He's safe at home, no question.
He needs a performance bonus for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, that brings us to our if Derrick Lewis was my sadness hedge of the night, where I got to be happy no matter what, and especially happy because Derrick Lewis won. Here's the just real sad moment of the night. Bobby Green, Tony Ferguson. And there was like
sad. On my notes here, I wrote sad 3 fucking times.
Yeah.
3 fucking times. That's how sad and uncomfortable I felt watching this. It felt like watching someone beat up someone's grandpa.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Not a
I'm just glad it ended with a submission, at least. I mean, unfortunately, it took 2 rounds and 4 minutes and 54 seconds to end with the submission. But like,
it's sad shit.
Ferguson, for like 2 minutes, the first 2 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, Ferguson's got a little pop in there.
Nah, bullshit, not at all.
He dropped Bobby Green.
What the fuck ever? Bobby was throwing a kick and got knocked over. That wasn't a knockdown. This is bullshit. He never looked great out there ever.
He didn't ever look great out there.
A shell of his former self, Zane. Stop
I know. Okay, I know.
No, ever since that front kick from Chandler, he's looked old.
No, it was well before that front kick from Chandler. I mean,
no, I mean like he physically looks like an old grandpa now.
No, yeah, well, yeah, that did rearrange. Old. It did wrinkle him. It permanently mussed Tony Ferguson.
Dude, this is maybe my least favorite tech sub of all time.
Yeah,
least favorite. I mean, you'll have to go to like the ones where the referees don't realize the person's unconscious for me to find one I don't like more.
We are in serious, and it's unfortunate it's gone on for a lot more fights, but we are in serious Chuck Liddell territory where a guy just absolutely does not have it anymore and does not know they do not have it anymore. Like, just will not, under any circumstances, admit they don't have it anymore. You know?
It's sad.
It is. It is really sad.
It's like
'cause-
trying to watch like an old dog get up some stairs or something.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing it. It's a tragedy waiting to happen every time he steps out there, and I'm done. I feel uncomfortable watching him fight. I'm just at any moment I'm like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna end? How's this gonna go horribly wrong for him? It's such a far fall from grace that if he came in like this, if he came in like a bum, I'd have been like, oh yeah, whatever. But knowing what he was, to see him deteriorate so rapidly to where he is now, it's just uncomfortable to watch. I don't like it.
I remember too. I'm I don't want to like call my shot on this or anything, but I remember like back when he fought Josh Thompson, I remember being like, man, when Tony Ferguson's speed goes, this is all going to be really bad.
Yeah,
because he's always had a style where like he's always had, you watch him, you're like, oh, he does some funky weird stuff. He's doing his own thing out there, but it works for Tony Ferguson. What worked was how fast he was, where he could do all this Wing Chun stuff, all these hand traps and stuff like that. And as long as he had all the speed, it would be enough to get him through these harrowing moments he would often put himself in his fights. And that speed, once that speed is gone, it's just all the harrowing moments. You know?
Right.
There's a reason there's a reason that the book exists on striking, and why somebody like Bobby Green, who is so clinical, as he gets older, he's not just looking like a shell. He does all the right things to defend himself. He does all the right things to roll away from punches and stuff like that. Ferguson would like plant his feet and then try to roll 3 different ways, and you'd be like, that looks really cool. Nobody should do that, And then
it used to look cool, yeah.
Yeah. And then the speed goes and you're like, this is why nobody should do that. Because technique, it insulates you.
It's not just the stand up. He was botching those Eminari rolls. Like that's disgusting.
I know. Yeah.
Like Eminari roll to getting hammer fisted into oblivion.
Yeah.
That's so hard to watch.
It really is. I mean, the UFC should not be putting on his fights anymore. Nobody
should.
Nobody should. The commissions should not be putting him out there. I'm not going to tell him to retire because I don't know what Tony Ferguson's got going on in his life. You don't know. It's not. But I know I don't want to see him fight anymore.
Right.
Like if they put him back out in the cage, I might watch it because I have to, because I'm going to get paid to cover it. But I don't want to see it.
I don't even think I would. I think I'll boycott his next fight. Honestly, I might just skip it. Yeah. I swear to you, I'm so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, it just sucks. And that's it's not our place as fans or even media to tell fighters, oh, you got to quit. You got to quit your job.
No, but it is our place as consumers to say whether or not we are happy or unhappy with the product. And I'm not happy with that kind of product.
It is our place as fans and consumers to say, I don't want to see this anymore. That is the deal that we can make as fans, is say, I was there for you when you were great, but I'm not just going to show up no matter what you do.
Right. I feel like that's enabling in a way.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I also want to be supportive. So now I'm torn.
No, I mean,
internal ethical struggle here.
Being supportive is not saying, hey man, you gotta retire, because like I said, you don't know this person. You don't know what their struggle is. You don't know where they are in their life. But you can say, hey man, I don't want to watch you fight anymore. Like, that's no fun.
Yeah.
I think that's it's a fine line between those two things, but I think it's a realistic line, because you tell somebody, oh, you should retire, they resent that. You tell somebody, you fighting is not, especially I'm not fighters. Enjoying that.
Especially fighters.
Yeah, especially fighters.
And the thing is, like, why didn't the gloves come off after this? Why weren't they laid down in the octagon after this?
Because he is full to the brim of belief that everything going wrong is a problem he has not solved yet.
Worst part of the night for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Then we got another cool fight. Kevin Holland, Michael Chiesa, and man, hard night for Michael Chiesa because Kevin Holland looked. This is the most prepared I have seen him look at welterweight. This is a Kevin Holland that Connor and I were talking about this on the Vivi that we just both felt has been kind of missing, which was that you would get these performances at Kevin Holland up at middleweight where, like that fight against Joaquin Buckley, where, yeah, you could have wild, messy, fun-loving Kevin Holland, but every now and then you'd get, like, clinical Kevin Holland. I am going to go out there and I'm going to teach you a few things because I know how to fight really well. And we just kind of got messy Kevin Holland, wild, messy, I can bully people at welterweight Kevin Holland. And this was the first time I've seen him down at 170 where he just showed up and he was like, nah, I can actually just stop every single thing you want to do.
No, it looked professional.
Yeah.
This was a professional performance. His takedown defense was there. It showed up.
Yep.
That was the biggest surprise for me.
And he did what you got to do against somebody who's only looking to wrestle, which is
choke him out.
Choke him out, but not only get your stance low, but keep your strikes low. Target the body, use uppercuts. Don't just stand. You see so many fighters. You see like Priscilla Cachoeira on the prelims against Miranda Maverick. You see, I don't know, other fighters, Trevin Giles, Gabriel Bonfim, stuff like that, where you see a fighter who is just like standing tall in the face of an opponent who is looking to wrestle them and is headhunting while they stand tall. And it's just like, now all you can do now is try to feint and hope that you draw the shot out because you're not in position to stuff anything. The moment you throw your hands, you're going to be out of position to defend anything at all. And so Kevin Holland, he went out there, he was low, he threw low, and Chiesa he didn't have a chance to enter on anything.
Mm-mm. The power was too much on the feet right away.
Yeah.
Like right away, he was like, oh shit, I don't want to be on the feet. And when the takedown wasn't there, it was like, well, shit, now I can't stand with this guy and I can't take him down.
Yeah.
It just kept getting worse and worse. And I'm not surprised he got submitted. Chiesa is the best grappler that often gets submitted. Yeah,
this is very true. He especially has an allergy to that Darce choke.
Yeah, then Vicente Luque, I think he
got him with it, and so did Jorge Masvidal back in the day.
Yeah, Chiesa, man, rough go, man. He's been out with his back issues, comes back, favorable matchup on paper, right? Someone who is notoriously just horrific with his takedown defense. But man, Chiesa was in for a rude awakening because the Kevin Holland that showed up had a high FIQ, and I don't think Chiesa was ready for it.
Holland was absolutely a dude who, in the back, in his previous fights that he did so poorly with the wrestling, he would just stand tall and he would headhunt, and and he would hop into the pocket from range, looking to swing short hooks a lot. And it would always set him up. It would give his hips away to his opponent. So seeing this is a huge technical adjustment for him. Looked great, worked great. And man, rough night for Chiesa coming back after 2 years just to have that happen. I kind of can't help but wonder how sweet that broadcast position is going to start sounding for his long-term future.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Tough break, man, because he looked great when he came back or he moved up to welterweight and he fought RDA and looked great and then just fell back off.
Yeah.
But Holland, he's the story here. He's going back up to middleweight so that he can eat steaks and have sex to cut weight,
Yeah,
as
I
he
mean,
says.
Sean Strickland's been trying to get that sex up to cut weight at middleweight for years now, and it hasn't happened yet. But one of these days,
I don't. He looks so good tonight. I don't know why he wouldn't want to stay at welterweight.
yeah. I mean, it does seem like this fight would be a great opportunity for him to go out and fight somebody. You know, I don't know who was at the top of the. Damn it! I had the rankings wiki open, but like there was definitely a bout out there like Jack Della Maddalena, Kevin Holland. That's a great fight. I'd love to see that. You know,
I'm not sure if I'm ready for JDM to take that kind of a leap. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean he didn't look that great in his last fight, but he's also ranked. Or Michel Pereira. If Wonder Boy's not going to fight Pereira,
he ought to catch weight. Oh yeah, shout out to Wonder Boy, by the way, for refusing to fight Michel Pereira, coming in super heavy. Rarely do you see this happen. Usually guys just take the 20% of the purse or whatever and accept a fight and end up losing because they're fighting someone huge, and size matters, especially when technique is somewhat equal. So I like that Stephen Thompson actually took a stance just against the whole botching a weight cut. And I respect it. Weight cuts suck. I understand. I've done several weight cuts myself. They all suck, but I've always made weight. I don't have a high tolerance for people who miss weight, especially at that level. Like, there's no excuse.
Yeah. We could see Kevin Holland versus Paul Craig.
That's beyond fun. I love that. So, yeah, he's down at middleweight. I'm also I like a catch weight between Michel and Kevin Holland.
Yeah, whatever. There are options for him. I'm gonna have fun seeing him wherever. I just like that he showed up with actually looking like a fighter who had planned how to not wrestle. You know, because this is a dude who has talked about how much he hates people wrestling him for years, and has never been able to make that adjustment to like stop it. You know,
no, this might be the first time I've ever seen him completely command a grappler.
Yeah.
Like completely shut him out.
Yeah. I mean, this is a dude who went absolutely nip tuck with Gerald Meerschaert and complained the whole way while trying to take Meerschaert down himself, and like wrestling with Meerschaert the whole time, and complained the whole time that it's Meerschaert's fault for wrestling him. It's just like, come on, man. All right, though, we got to start burning through some of the rest of this. We've covered all the big stuff, but Gabriel Bonfim, Trevin Giles, not a surprise on that. Oh, somebody asked, just a quick thing: did Wonder Boy still get show money for turning down the fight, or did he get or turning down the fight mean he got nada? As far as I know, he got nothing. That's the word on the street.
No, he should still get his show money because he made weight.
But that's the word out there, is that he did not get his show money. Let me see if I can find.
If he didn't, that's fucked up.
Let's see.
That sends a bad message.
We have a report from MMA Junkie from Mike Bond, and Mike Bond he's
credible.
He's pretty damn credible. I'm going to believe him if he says Stephen Thompson didn't receive his show money despite making weight for his canceled bout with Michel Pereira.
Is that like he didn't yet receive it or isn't going to receive it?
Well, I mean, I can't read into the cards that heavy.
Good question.
But my guess is that my guess would be that he got a deal to get another fight booked fast. Would be my guess. Is that the UFC? So I've seen it at times where they will throw fighters a percentage of their show money for a fight that gets canceled like this. Like, here's 5 or 10 grand or something, and say, okay, we're going to get you a fight booked on this card in the next 2 weeks. So it could be that for Thompson, but it could also just be that they got pissed at him for turning down a pay-per-view fight that they wanted for pay-per-view.
That's dick. I hate that.
Yeah.
That's messed up. It's like, it's not his fault. Like, the dude,
Nope.
you weigh in, you should get your show money. It's happened in the past. Plenty of fighters have showed up, weighed in, something happened with the other guy, they didn't get their or they don't get their win bonus, obviously.
Yeah.
But they definitely get taken care of.
Yeah, well, I will not be, no outcome of that would surprise me. Thompson getting a little cash and a fight booked quickly wouldn't surprise me. Thompson actually getting his show money wouldn't surprise me. And Thompson just getting absolutely screwed wouldn't surprise me. Like, no version of that story would shock, you know?
No, true. Very true.
All right. Yeah, was saying Bonfim, Giles, not really surprised there. Good fight from Bonfim. Giles has always been real allergic to sustained pressure, though, so I'm not surprised that Bonfim just absolutely buzzsawing him out of the gate had Giles in all kinds of trouble.
Man, what's impressive is jumping an arm in guillotine
and finishing it
and getting the tab. That's bananas. Like, that's hard to do, and I would actually chastise someone for even attempting it. But
yeah, it doesn't seem like a great move.
That's his thing, though.
Yeah. He called out Neil Magny afterward. I got to admit, I don't have any interest in that fight at all.
That's funny. I thought the same thing when he said it. I was like, that might be boring, but all right.
Yeah, I want to see him fight Nicholas Dalby, because I like Nicholas Dalby, and I think he's he's a good veteran test in that division. He's been looking great in his second run in the UFC. Fight smart. It's a good bump up, and then he can get up to, a ranked bout 1 or 2 fights after that. I would also say I wouldn't mind it all seeing, I don't think it would happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing them throw him at Gunnar Nelson if they can lure him out of his semi-retirement.
He should fight D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez.
Sure. D-Rod just got booked, though.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he just got a fight booked with Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's a sneaky good fight.
But man, Bonfim, he rocked Giles with a left hand. But holy shit, that was the ugliest left hand I've ever seen in my fucking life. That dude's striking is it's like he went to the Drickus Duplessis school of throwing yourself at people.
Of swanging and banging?
Dude,
yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, I watching tape on him and his brother, I think of his brother as, like, the way more technical fighter, but Gabriel Bonfim is the one with the perfect record,
Right.
He's just out there. He's got all the size. His brother, he's small. His brother is small for a lightweight. Bonfim is huge for a welterweight, and so he's just going out there and beasting his way through people.
It's fun.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to a catchweight bout. CJ Vergara, Vinicius Salvador. This fight sucked ass. And I don't think we need to talk about it.
Moving on.
Yeah. Was the worst fight on the card, excepting how sad that Tony Ferguson fight was. But I'm going to erase that from my memory, actually. I feel bad that I even brought it up again. Made me feel
I was about
bad.
to say, why are you bringing that shit back up, man?
Yeah.
Trying to kill the vibe.
All right. Roman Kopylov, Claudio Ribeiro. And, man, I love what Kopylov is turning up in now that he's had those couple of bad fights in the UFC early on where he got ground out and he didn't look like he was showing up. And I was like, man, this dude was so much fun on Fight Nights Global. He'd had this really, like, systematic sort of start out with short, tight combos and pick it up and escalate as the fight goes on and on. He doesn't have the physicality to do that in the UFC. And he had a couple bad outings, but he has been showing up and he's been a ton of fun to watch.
Man, his striking is just fantastic. This head kick was flawless, absolutely flawless. We got a sick one in the main event. This one was better.
It really was.
This was fantastic. This is like, I mean, woo! Like this was just so phenomenal, and I love how he was going to the body so often earlier in the fight. I mean, just and there's the way he kicks. It's so explosive and so just tight and it's like he turns on a dime. And even with the head kick, like it's all just so quick and crisp.
Yeah,
and everything. Honestly, like he was picking like absolutely. Like you said, you said someone was surgical earlier. That's like a good word. He is surgical out there. He's accurate. Really... He's sharp. I mean, he has some of the best striking I've seen in a while. Like
his game. When he picks it up and when he's on point, it's really good. It's the flaws are there on the defensive side. It used to be that he would kind of walk into that middle distance and start getting hit. He's kind of solved that problem, but you could still see when Ribeiro crowded him and started throwing bombs at him, the back foot defense is not nearly as crisp as the front foot process. But when he gets the chance to walk forward and set the pace, he is tough. He is a tough man to handle. And man, for Ribeiro, what a mistake to have all that success pressuring in round one and then start round two immediately backing up. And it's like, what are you doing, man? You are walking. Like every moment Kopylov was moving forward in round one, he was killing you. You can't start round two backing up.
What was he doing? Being fucking tired at 4,000 feet of elevation.
That too. Yeah.
Dude, he emptied his gas tank going for that finish early on.
Yeah.
Kopylov almost hit that A to B turn around and run away from your opponent move.
Yeah.
But he had some arc in it. It wasn't it wasn't fully linear.
No, so. He was not in the blackout. I don't know what's going on or where I am or who any of these people are around me moment that what's her name had.
Yeah, what was her name?
God damn it. Don't make me have to actually.
You have to look it up.
Chelsea Chandler?
Yeah, Chelsea. Chandler. Yeah, Chandler. It was Chandler. Dumont Chandler. That fight.
Oh, yeah. Dumont Chandler.
Yeah, that was the sprint in the direct opposite direction.
Yeah, Chelsea Chandler. Wow, I can't believe I pulled that out of my.
We'll just call it pulling a Chandler.
There we go.
Pulling a Chandler, just almost that, but not quite. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to survive, and he did that, weathered the storm, and pulled out one of the sickest highlights you'll ever see.
Yep. Credit next one, welterweight bout. Credit to Darius Flowers. He showed up a lot better than I've ever seen him show up in any of his fights before, win or lose. He has never looked that sold on his striking as he did in the early minutes against Jake Matthews here. Mm-hmm. He poured everything into it. It was not something he was comfortable with, so it gassed the hell out of him. But it's a short notice fight against somebody who has been fighting at a way higher level than you for a lot longer than you. You took you flipped the coin, you went for it. Credit to him for trying it. Nothing went well for him after that. But, I think honestly, when you're in those kinds of short notice fights for a lot of fighters, like that's kind of what you got to do is just go out there and say, okay, I'm going to try and I am going to absolutely see if I can put it on this person, jump out and get something big.
No, I absolutely dig his moxie. Like he showed up. A lot of guys freeze under the bright lights, their debut, jitters, blah, blah, blah. Nah, he understood the assignment.
Yep.
And he used that little bit of a gas tank that he had to use up. He ran through it, and he put himself in some really good positions to possibly win early on. Didn't pan out, but that's okay. Took a pretty hard shot to the balls that for some reason Joe Rogan, who I love, by the way, this isn't a knock on Joe Rogan, but he got this one wrong.
It could be a knock on Joe. He's been doing this for years. Every time he thinks a kick might have hit the inner thigh or might have hit the belt line or might have done anything other than been a straight kick right to the nuts that is so obvious that people in space could see it, anything other than that, he's always like, man, I don't know. I think he might be overselling this one. And he's just like, man, if the foot hits the cup, you just assume that the guy's balls are hurt. You know, it's not that hard.
He's like victim blaming out here. Like,
yeah.
He's faking it.
He's let me see oh, man.
Hey, let me see your testicles. Pull your shorts down.
Come on. Put them out. If you're not willing to whip them out, I can't. How are we supposed to think that they're hurt?
Man, I felt bad for the guy. It's like, man, you come out here on short notice. You give your all. You get hit in the balls in the second round, and now you got the commentating team publicly like saying you're a bitch and you're looking for an easy way out, or you're faking it or whatever. It's like, no, dude, the replay clearly shows the heel going into the cup.
Yeah, just assume the balls are hurt. Nobody who's showing up to fight in a cage for a living, I can think of like one hand the number of times I've seen a professional fighter in a fight being like, man, I don't really want to fight. You know, like, oh, I think I'll walk away from this while I still have a chance at winning. You see people give up when they are like thoroughly destroyed, and they're, you're like, oh man, everything is awful. I am getting absolutely destroyed. I'm just going to tap to this choke when it goes in. You see that, sure.
Oh yeah.
Because the body is quitting. Everything is quitting. But to just have somebody be like, oh, I'm just going to fake an injury to get out of this. That happens so rarely.
Aljamain Sterling, what's up?
Oh,
come on! You have to bring. It's same ballpark. No pun intended. Same ballpark.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right.
Sure. He's not for everyone. Again, I like Joe Rogan. He's cool.
Him not knowing what weight Roman Kopylov was fighting at was, that was his own other little moment. Anyway, welterweight bout: Uros Medich, Matthew Semelsberger, and banger of a fight, slobber knocker. Unfortunately, kind of another fight where Semelsberger is having great success and then just kind of gets away from it and starts letting his opponent take over. Because he was doing really well, pressing forward, getting Medich on the back foot, dropped him early, going after him. Medich had that up kick that hurt Semelsberger. And from that point on, Semelsberger would press forward at times in moments, had some good spots, but he was just clearly much more willing to stay out at long range. And even, I think, too, this might have just been a cornering thing, too, because you could hear his corner clearly telling him, stay at range. It's just like, that's the only place Uros Medich wants to be, He wants you way outside at kicking range. I don't know that this is serving you at all well, Semelsberger. Of course, then I say that, and Semelsberger grabs his opponent, gets into the clinch with Medich late, and then gets absolutely tuned up there. So maybe his corner knew something on that note too. But
true,
it just felt like a fight where Semelsberger really had some early momentum, and it all fell off.
Honestly, I think it's his gift is also his curse. His gift is his athleticism.
Yeah,
right? He's got that football athleticism, like that American football athleticism. It's it's what has carried Ovent St. Preux through his whole career is that football athleticism. And Semelsberger has that. So when he connects and he's fresh, he is extremely dangerous. But the cost is, big muscles, big oxygen. He needs to use a lot of air to keep his engine running. You're at 4,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah,
you're just going to start slowing down. If you watch the fight, he just starts breathing. His breathing gets more heavy and more heavy and more heavy, like a lot of guys do. It's a fight, but His is accelerated. He burns through his energy levels a lot sooner than most people because he's so fast twitch. So it's a gift because he hits hard, he's got power, but it's a curse because he can't sustain the same level, the same intensity for 15 hard minutes.
Yeah. Great win for Medich though. That finishing sequence was awesome.
Spinning really back cool. Fist, like the whole thing. Like it was really the body kicks. Like he was tuning him up. He perfectly taxed the gas tank even more. It was a smart fight. He had to go through some fire, but the doctor showed up, man.
Yeah, I'd love to see him in a fight with somebody like Michael Morales or maybe like Brian Battle, you know.
That's the first time I've ever heard you like put Brian Battle in a fight.
Yeah, you know what? Battle has been showing up. I can't be down on the kid. I'm tough may not be my favorite thing in the world, but he's finishing people out there.
Sure. He's in that weird thing with Joaquin Buckley. Are they still going to do that?
Oh, I don't know. All right. But that brings us finally to our opening bout. Miranda Maverick, Priscilla Cachoeira. This is your moment, Eddie.
Yeah, I was pretty sure Maverick was going to get a submission here. I thought it was going to be a rear naked choke. Cachoeira just not as sharp on the ground.
No.
So unless she was going to find a way to get a knockout, which Maverick's no slouch on the feet. She got a pretty solid Muay Thai base. I thought Priscilla was going to get choked out. Turns out she got hit with the textbook armbar, and it was a beautiful cooking. Beautiful cooking.
I did like how much more I liked, I didn't like Maverick starting out testing the striking early. Yeah, she wasn't lacking any success. She actually did really well striking with Cachoeira, but I was a little bit like, man, we just watched you get beat up by Jasmine Jasudavicius because you didn't have a game plan to handle her, really. And do you have a plan? The plan for Cachoeira has to be obvious, but once she got that first takedown opportunity, it really seemed like the drive and everything really clicked for Maverick this fight. So that was good to see, like her really just going after it and staying on Cachoeira and, not letting the opportunities pass her by when it was there to take her down. So.
Yeah, and not relinquishing control.
Yeah.
She mentioned in her post-fight interview how, she didn't want to go for early submissions. Like she wanted to wait until the perfect opportunity. She wanted to take the fight out of her. And I don't think Cachoeira ever got back to her feet once she got taken down.
No. It's a great fight for Maverick and gets her right back knocking on the door of that at bottom of the top 15 kind of area. So we'll see what she can get next. All right, back wrapping it up at the top. Justin Gaethje, BMF champ, future title shot out there for him. Gotta love it. Awesome way to end the card. A lot of highlights on this card. Couple of lowlights, but I always feel like every card, the best cards, you got to have that mix. You got to go through all the emotions. You got to go through those highs and lows.
Yeah, I could have done without the Tony Ferguson emotion.
Sure.
That aside, everything else is
but
pretty
following that Tony Ferguson horror show with that Derrick Lewis flying knee, you can't feel any happier for that moment when you hit that high off of that low.
Oh yeah, I got amnesia real quick.
Yeah,
for sure.
Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up, but we're gonna be over on our Substack here in just a minute, doing a little post-fight bonus or post-show bonus content. So if you're not subscribed, check out our Bloody Elbow podcast Substack. Find us there. Check out our shows there. Sign up. Help us out. Help the site out. Help us keep doing what we love doing. And, of course, on YouTube, give the video a like, share it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all that good stuff. And you can find me on Twitter at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. And both of us over at bloodyelbow.com. So thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will see y'all soon.